Today we're diving into one of the world's most important waterways, the Suez Canal. This incredible feat of engineering has been shaping global trade for over 150 years. So let's dive into the fascinating story of the Suez Canal. Ancient origins. Picture this, it's ancient Egypt, and pharaohs are dreaming big. They want to connect the Mediterranean and Red Seas. Why? To make trade easier, of course. These ambitious rulers actually managed to build a series of canals, but they weren't quite up to the job. Fast forward a few thousand years, and we see various attempts to revive this ancient dream. Venetians in the 15th century and French in the 17th and 18th centuries all had a crack at it. But it wasn't until the 19th century that things really got moving. The birth of the modern canal. Enter Ferdinand de Lesseps, a French diplomat with a vision. In 1854, de Lesseps convinced the Egyptian viceroy to let him build a modern canal. But this wasn't going to be a walk in the park. The project was massive, taking 10 years and facing all sorts of challenges. We're talking scorching heat, cholera outbreaks, and labor issues. At first, workers dug by hand with picks and baskets. Can you imagine? Later, they brought in fancy steam-powered equipment and even flooded parts of the terrain to make dredging easier. Talk about thinking outside the box. Finally, in 1869, the Suez Canal opened with a big, flashy ceremony. And just like that, ships could sail directly between Europe and Asia without going all the way around Africa. It was a game-changer for global trade. Political hot potato. But here's where things get interesting. The canal wasn't just about moving goods, it was a political hot potato. The British government snatched up a big chunk of shares in 1875, and suddenly everyone wanted a piece of the action. Fast forward to 1956, and boom! Egyptian President Nasser nationalized the canal, sparking an international crisis. This led to the Suez Crisis, where Britain, France, and Israel invaded Egypt. The whole world held its breath as superpowers clashed over this crucial waterway. The canal's impressive features. The Suez Canal is pretty impressive on paper. It stretches about 120 miles long, cutting through lakes and some seriously challenging terrain. And get this, it has no locks. That's right, it's just one long, open cut. Pretty cool, huh? Over the years, the canal has seen some major upgrades. They've widened it, deepened it, and even added bypasses to help ships pass each other. In 2015, they finished a huge expansion project, adding a new 22-mile channel parallel to part of the main waterway. This lets more ships travel in both directions at once. Efficiency for the win! Why it matters. But why is the Suez Canal such a big deal? Well, it's all about location. This waterway is the shortest sea route between Europe and Asia. Without it, ships would have to sail around the entire African continent. That's like taking the scenic route, times 1,000. Just to give you an idea of how busy this place is, in 2018, over 18,000 ships passed through the canal. That's about 50 ships a day. And we're not just talking about little boats here. We're talking massive cargo ships, oil tankers, and even the occasional cruise ship. The Yellow Fleet. Speaking of ships, remember the Yellow Fleet? No, it's not a bunch of taxis. During the 1967 Arab-Israeli War, 15 ships got stuck in the canal for 8 years. They became known as the Yellow Fleet because of all the sand that piled up on their decks. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The crews of these ships formed a mini-society, complete with their own stamp system and even a yacht club. Now that's making the best of a bad situation. Cities born from the canal. The Suez Canal isn't just a water highway, it's created whole cities along its banks. Port Said, Ismailia, and Suez have all grown up around the canal. These places went from basically nothing to bustling port cities. It's like the canal brought life to the desert. These cities have their own unique characters. Port Said, at the northern end, is known for its beautiful colonial architecture. Ismailia, in the middle, was built as the headquarters for the canal's construction. And Suez, at the southern end, has been a major port since ancient times. troubled waters. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. The canal has seen its share of conflicts and closures. It was shut down during both World Wars and again during the Suez Crisis in 1956–57. And let's not forget the more recent drama in 2021 when a massive container ship, the Ever Given, got stuck and blocked the entire canal for 6 days. Talk about a traffic jam! This incident showed just how crucial the canal is to global trade. When it was blocked, it cost the world economy an estimated $400 million per hour. Environmental impact. The Suez Canal isn't just about ships and trade, it's had a huge impact on the environment too. When it opened, it connected two seas that had been separate for millions of years. Suddenly, species from the Red Sea could swim into the Mediterranean and vice versa. It's like nature's own exchange program. This has led to some interesting consequences. Some Red Sea species have thrived in the Mediterranean, changing local ecosystems. Scientists call these Lessepian migrants, named after our friend Ferdinand de Lesseps. It's a reminder that when humans make big changes to the environment, nature finds a way to adapt. The future of the Suez Canal. So what's next for this marvel of engineering? Egypt has big plans. They're constantly working on improvements to make the canal wider, deeper, and more efficient. There's talk of using AI to manage traffic and reduce waiting times for ships. But there are challenges too. Climate change could affect water levels in the canal, and new trade routes like the Northern Sea route through the Arctic could provide competition. Plus, there's always the threat of political instability in the region. That's all for today, adventurers. If you enjoyed this journey through the Suez Canal, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And let us know in the comments what other geographical wonders you'd like us to explore next.